We'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Jack, I muted you for a second. We're getting some pretty good feedback. I'm going to unmute and see if that is resolved. No,
I think it's that ceiling fan, Jack. Jack, I think it's your ceiling fan. Why don't you shut that off and see if that makes a difference?
It's still coming through pretty garbled.
How about now, Jack?
Go ahead. Can you hear me?
Okay, there. That's better.
Back in business.
I don't know what I did.
Okay. We've all had a chance to look at the agenda. If there isn't any additions or corrections, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? If not, is there we'll proceed with a roll call vote?
District 1?
Yes.
2?
Yes.
3?
Yes.
4?
Yes.
5?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, passes. Okay, now we'll move on to the approving minutes from the May 26th board meeting. Everybody's had a chance to look those over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? If not, we'll proceed with roll call vote.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
5?
Yep.
Passes.
Now we'll do June 2nd's workshop session immediate minutes. Is there a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve the workshop session.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? If not, we'll proceed with the roll call vote.
District 1?
Yes.
2?
Yes.
3?
Yes.
4?
Yes.
5?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Is there anybody online that wants to have a public comment? If not, we'll proceed with the COVID-19 update from Public Health. John, you want to take over?
John is muted.
Okay, I think I'm open now, right? Can you hear me? All right. I read somewhere that "can you hear me" is one of the biggest new phrases out there. So anyway, good morning, everyone. A brief update for you today. After 2 months of 2 cases, 1 a month, we've added some cases to our number. This isn't surprising to me. Yesterday, I haven't looked at numbers today, but just for a point of reference, in Wisconsin, across the border, yesterday, La Crosse was reporting 69 lab confirmed cases. Vernon County, 21. Those 2 counties obviously border us. Iowa, Alameda County is reporting 120 cases. Winneshiek, 24. In Minnesota, Winona has 85 and Fillmore 20. So those are all the counties that are bordering us as of yesterday. So it's not surprising to see some of our numbers beginning to increase. I've said a number of times that I wonder whether people from Houston County are adequately represented and are getting tested. And I don't have any scientific data to support it, but I do think that given the fact that the vast majority of healthcare is provided outside the state for people who live in Houston County, I think that has artificially suppressed our numbers, and we're starting to see some of those increases. It's also hard because there's other variables that are at play. So there's that variable. There's also the variable of loosening restrictions, both in counties adjacent to us in other states as well as in our state. And also the notion that there is an increase in testing in the state of Minnesota, and presumably increases in other states as well. So those things will also have an impact on the numbers that we're reporting. I think it's important to note that COVID-19 is not gone, and it's also not isolated to specific small populations. What I've done and what our stance has been is to share minimal information, because due to our small numbers, it's easier to identify specific individuals if we share additional information. Also, the State Department of Health, Minnesota Department of Health, has strongly urged us not to share information. That became quite a bone of contention with different counties and with law enforcement and EMS across the state. And several weeks ago, the governor enacted an executive order to share more specific demographic information with law enforcement contacts and EMS contacts in communities where positive cases are reported. That information goes from MDH to the Department of Public Safety, and from the Department of Public Safety, it goes to our local law enforcement and EMS. They're directed to have that information and not share it unless they have to make a call to one of those homes. So again, the State Department of Health has been very cognizant of people's privacy, and we are supporting that. I also think that our messaging that for quite some time now, CDC and MDH have said that COVID-19 is spreading in the community. I don't want to have messaging out there that would have people have a very small number to make assumptions about, well, this is in this community, but not this one, so I'm safe. What I can tell you is that we have cases across Houston County in multiple communities. I can also tell you that we don't have any cases in any of our long-term care facilities. I'd ask you now to kind of pound on anything wood, because, you know, knock on wood, we really don't want to have that happen in any of our long-term care facilities. That's really a bad day. So we're grateful that that has not occurred to date. At our earlier meeting with Public Health and Human Services Committee, I noted, I think Jack had asked a question, and I said, you know, he had mentioned that there's a very high percentage of fatalities in long-term care facilities and in elderly populations. That is, in my mind, half of the story. The other half of the story is that the majority of people who contract COVID-19 are in a younger age group and frequently don't display a lot of serious symptomology. What that says to my untrained mind is there may be some correlation between a higher number of people who get less sick, who transmit it to people who are more vulnerable, and they end up having bad outcomes. Again, the point of masks, the point of social distancing is primarily to protect others from whatever we're putting out. As you all know, the governor has begun and will continue to turn the dial of loosening restrictions again on Wednesday, opening bars and restaurants to partial seating inside and things starting this week. That's a balancing act that I don't envy, in that trying to consider what's best for public safety as well as, the importance of restarting commerce and recognizing that people can't stay locked down forever. It would be great if we could figure everything out about COVID-19 in a short period of time and make all of our decisions based on strong knowledge of what this virus is and how it behaves over time. But we don't have that luxury, and so decision makers at state and federal levels have had to do the best they can with limited information and balancing some pretty difficult competing issues between public health and safety and people's livelihoods, the social interactions that are the fabric of our communities, the commerce that is necessary. It's really, as it has been said many times, it's an unprecedented challenge. So that's what we know today. I anticipate that we'll continue to see additional cases in Houston County, again, based on a variety of factors, increased testing, the reduction of some of the restrictions, and people a little more loose and more gathering in groups and such because of the summer season. All of those things contribute, but I anticipate that we'll continue to see an increase in numbers. One of the biggest things that the state is looking at and has been looking at from the very beginning was our capacity from a healthcare perspective, both healthcare beds as well as ICU beds and ventilators and equipment necessary for people with very acute disease. And those numbers have plateaued and started to go down. And I think that also supports some of the reduction in restrictions that we're seeing happening both in our state and others. So those are things we're watching. And yeah, Commissioner Miller.
Just an update from your opening with a report into this morning's paper. The new case in La Crosse County brings a total of confirmed cases to 76. 56 people have recovered. The health department reported that the 20 active cases are the most the county has had since the pandemic began, and the area continues to be at high risk.
Yeah. So that would tell you that just in one day they increased a number of cases, because yesterday when I looked at the Wisconsin Department of Health site, they had 69.
Yep.
Yeah, Commissioner Burns.
Just a question. The two new cases, how long before you're able to tell where they are located?
My recommendation is we're not going to share that information.
Why?
I believe two reasons. Number one, again, because we have such small numbers, as we share more specific information, we really risk sharing people's private information on that. The people who need to know that information as far as public safety, law enforcement, EMS are getting that information and getting more information than we even have through the Department of Public Safety. So those are the folks who would be in harm's way, so to speak, if they have to answer a police call or an EMS call at one of those residences. And they're getting that information through state channels from the Department of Health to the Department of Public Safety to our local law enforcement and EMS providers. The other reason I think that it's important.
I'm not asking for a specific address. I'm just asking for a city. I mean, even the city is withheld?
Yes, that's what we've been strongly urged from MDH not to share that information. And I support that because, again, we have small numbers, and I think that jeopardizes people's private information. I also think it undermines our overall messaging, which is this is a virus that is equally contagious throughout our county. It's not tied to specific communities. It's not tied to just long-term care facilities. In fact, we don't have it in long-term care facilities. People make decisions based on assumptions they have. And so if they think, we have cases in this spot, but not these spots, they may draw the conclusion that there is little or no risk where they are. And I think that that's not factual. So that's why I have followed MDH guidance on that, and I urge that our board does the same. I don't know that it has any business use for us to share that information, since our law enforcement and EMS folks are getting it. Prior to that, I was on the other side of it saying, hey, you know, our law enforcement and EMS need to know that information. And it was very difficult, as some of you maybe were involved in some of our early EOC meetings, where it's like, I have this information and I know that my colleagues who are potentially responding to cases, either law enforcement or EMS, don't. That didn't seem right. Fortunately, the state of Minnesota changed that, and now through those channels from MDH to Department of Public Safety, they are getting that information. Does that help answer the question, Commissioner?
Yeah, you just told me it's none of my business.
Yeah, that was the long version.
Yeah, it was.
Nothing personal.
Oh, I understand. Thank you.
Again, I would state, you know, as constituents reach out to you, and I get it. I get that people ask you questions, and it's hard not to know. I would urge commissioners to say, look, it is across our entire county. It is in multiple communities. It is spreading within the community. There is not a reduced risk of COVID-19 that I'm aware of. I think it's also, at least at this point, we can say it's not in long-term care facilities, because there's lots and lots of news out there saying, you know, that this is prevalent in long-term care facilities and elderly populations. You can go to the situational update and you can see that the distribution of ages is not disproportionate to that elderly population. It's disproportionate to middle-aged individuals. Young and middle-aged are the highest number of people who have contracted COVID. So my mind says, if that younger population is a higher distribution of people having it, but there's a higher distribution of people who at an older age have far more negative outcomes, somehow there's a connection between the high number of people who have it and a lower number of people who have it but have far worse outcomes. Those are some of the things that's information that is out there, and it is not unique to Houston County. It's across Minnesota. It's across the region, across the nation. So again, I apologize. If you feel that I should do differently, I work for you, but that's my recommendation.
You're going by the Minnesota Department of Health guidelines, and that's fine and dandy. I don't know as I'm going to be telling people that it could be here and it could be there. I'm not going to spread a fear issue with people that I talk to. I don't know where it is, and that's all I'm going to tell them.
Yeah.
I would just mention again that in light of the fact that we haven't gone from 2 cases to no cases, we've gone from 2 cases to 5 cases. La Crosse County has increased. It clearly states that we're still at risk. It's prevalent. I just think that our county courthouse and other facilities should really adhere to masks and distancing to the greatest extent that they can. I had my grandson and his new girlfriend came down from the cities yesterday for probably the only time they'll be able to come down this summer. We sat apart from one another with masks on in 90 degrees. It was extremely uncomfortable, but I think we just have to bite the bullet on discomfort and be diligent and about, especially at the county, because if it hits our county workforce, then we got a real issue. I really want to see some vigilant enforcement or strong workplace suggestion or enforcement.
You guys have any other questions on our COVID update information?
Hey, John, one thing.
Yeah.
Had 4 cases. The first 2 cases were quite a while ago. I'm assuming they're recovered, so we only have 2 active cases in the county?
Those first 2 cases are recovered.
Okay. Thank you.
Something that came up early in the morning, Commissioner Miller mentioned that La Crescent was approached about a resolution from the city to open up businesses. Caledonia, at their last city council meeting, did sign a resolution that they are sending up to the governor's office expressing a desire that all Caledonia businesses should be allowed to open and go back to normal. So just so you're aware of that.
And as of tomorrow, they are allowed to have indoor seating, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Executive order. Keep track of numbers here.
Is that 50%?
20-74 takes effect on the 10th. Yeah.
Yeah, it's at a reduced capacity, not full. I think there's a percentage and then also a cap on total numbers, if I'm not mistaken.
50%, max 250.
Yep.
That'd be a heck of a bar or restaurant if half is 250. It's a big place.
I think that's for churches and stuff like that.
Okay.
And well, then the churches have done this, had done this before already. So I think that was some of the problem where people were thinking, well, why is he given, exemptions for them and not us? And I think the writing was on the wall. It was going to happen no matter what. So
Move on. Yeah.
Okay, anything else for John? If not, thank you, John, for your update.
I'm gonna take off. I've got other things happening this morning. So thank you very much, commissioners. Have a good day.
Yep, you too. Now we'll go to the Southern Minnesota Efficient Initiative Foundation.
All right, if this works, I'm going to play a video here for everybody. Part of it is generic and part of it's specific to Houston County. What I would do is ask is that wave at me if this isn't working, and I'll just send out the link for everybody to view later if that's the case. So sharing screen, you should see Tim Penny now. And I'll hit play. You guys can hear him?
No, he's muted.
Okay. So no sound?
Nope. No. He's going real slow. He's like in slow motion.
All right. We got a lot on our plate, so I won't belabor this one. I'll send out the link to y'all, and you can watch it on YouTube.
Yep, that's fine.
So
we'll proceed with the consent agenda. Everybody's had a chance to look at the consent agenda. Is there any additions or corrections, or if not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I actually have my first agenda out, and it was all to be determined on the personnel actions. So I don't have the update on the personnel ones.
okay, I did send a final updated agenda last night. Has 13 items on it. That's
Okay.
the one you should have in front of you. I can resend it real quick if you'd like.
Yeah.
There's just 2 on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, consent agenda right now consists of approving the claims,
Right.
Human Services License Center as usual, and then affirming 1 personnel action, which is our hire of a temporary casual employee to help the Auditor Treasurer's Office. Nikki Kunkel is the individual, starting effective Wednesday, June 10th, at a pay rate of A11, step 2.
I have a question concerning that. May I ask it now?
Sure.
Are we fully utilizing Schneider? I just don't quite understand the auditor office issue. If it's splits or whatever, that's what we contracted Schneider to do. And if we're not using them to the full capacity, I'm wondering why.
Is this your concern of hiring the
Yes.
Mickey Conco? I think this position is to help with the license center and for directing people, doing some cleaning now and then, and helping out with odds and ends with phone calls and stuff like that. Correct, Jeff?
Yeah, correct. This position is to support the auditor treasurer primarily on the driver's license side, and we'll kind of phase in what she does. Initially, it will be watching the door, helping with appointments, and helping us transition into a full operation of the licensing center and recording office there. So it has nothing to do with the property splits and things like that.
I'm fine with that. I'm just relating to a conversation you and I had last week that.
Yeah. Now, as separate topic would be the Schneider use, and we're looking at. In fact, Tracy's here today from Schneider. I know he is sitting down with Mary as he makes his rounds around the place too, and I'll follow up with him at the end of the day, and see how we're doing with that. So
Okay.
We can discuss that on commissioner reports.
I think Donna explained it this morning at our committee meeting, what this person would be doing to help with the licensing, even as far as helping people when they come in, get on the computer to load their information, etc. So it's definitely was license related. Tess probably can explain it better than anyone.
You are correct, Commissioner Walter. It's license center related. However, it's also related to that front door, if you will, for all departments that may have appointments, so that we don't have a rush of people, if you will, and that we have a coordination of getting the public in through to their various appointments while maintaining a proper social distancing.
I think she at the door verifies they have an appointment too, right? They don't just walk through the halls.
No, they verify they have an appointment. Sometimes I sat down there when we first started doing this. Sometimes folks will show up early. They're just very conscientious. And we just space them out to where that they realize that they're just going to have to wait until their name is called and they can set up this, we direct them to where they can wait, etc. Andy's working on a software solution that may even include, if I'm not mistaken, a solution where they can wait in their car and be called in at that point.
Yeah, it's up and running on the site, and we're tweaking it as we go. And that's absolutely what it does. Is they can book an appointment right on the front of the webpage, and then receive those text messages when we're ready to provide them service. Sorry, Commissioner.
I'm assuming this person at the door is also going to take care of the hand sanitizing situation, as well as making sure that whoever's coming in has a mask in order to maintain that protective measures for our employees.
We invite them to sanitize their hands, and I know when I sat down there, I said, if you have a mask, we encourage you to wear your mask.
And we'll have masks available.
That we don't have at this point, but we could. We don't have a mask policy as far as having to wear a mask inside our facility.
Highly encouraged.
Can't we up it to a requirement? I mean, Menards has the requirement. Why can't the county courthouse have the requirement?
I think that's a different conversation than whether we need this. I mean, I'm a proponent of that, but that's a different conversation than what we need for this front desk person.
Yep, I agree. I think we need to stick with the consent agenda here.
That said, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
And I'll
Is there Okay. Any more discussion on this?
I didn't catch the second. Was that Commissioner Walter?
Yes.
Thank you.
If not, we'll proceed with the roll call vote.
District 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Passes.
Now we'll move on to action items. Jeff, you got this letter of support for this passenger rail project. I don't know a lot about this, so.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to do much research beyond what I shared in the package. Pull that up here real quick.
For one, why is this going through our county or?
Yes, yeah, it goes on the rail train from Minneapolis through to Chicago. They sent a letter to the board asking for support.
I think Jack and I went to didn't we, years ago, when they brought up this project of a high-speed rail, and it only goes through a very small portion, mainly down by Shore Acres where the railroad is. And
By my house, yeah.
they just need support to move forward.
So it's not new rail, they're going to use the existing rail for high speed?
That's what we understood. Correct, Jack?
Yeah, I thought the issue had kind of died on the vine, but now suddenly it seems to have resurfaced, so.
I think they're working behind the scenes trying to get this moving forward, looking for support.
It serves actually no purpose to Houston County.
No, not really.
County.
Except we need our permission to go through the county on the federal level.
Yeah, it's not something that requires our permission per se. They're just looking for more weight to back it up. It doesn't benefit us directly in the fact that we don't have a railhead here in the county that would have direct passenger travel on and off. However, many of our county residents go to La Crosse, whether that's to take a flight out or to take the train to any destination. So it would benefit travelers in that perspective.
So didn't this kind of die down because Wisconsin wasn't going to do it? And now they must be going to start up again or something? Or?
I think this is a separate issue. This is the Twin Cities, Milwaukee, Chicago, La Crosse is separate than that high speed train that's supposed to go from Rochester to the Twin Cities. I think this is a separate one from what I understood when we went to that. They want a high speed rail, and you see the signs along 52 saying no.
Yeah, that's a different deal. This isn't that deal. No, I understand that, but.
Okay.
Bob?
Are you sure that La Crosse is a stop?
No.
Because this deal from the cities to Chicago, there was very few stops in between.
Is there a deadline for this, Jeff? Or
Bob?
No, I don't see one.
Yeah, picking up on what Bob said, that was part of the initial controversy was where was it going to go? Who's it going to skip? You know, I mean, like, I think Red Wing was concerned, don't go by us, or I don't remember exactly, but I know there were disagreements as to where it would run, so it wouldn't necessarily follow the existing track.
Okay, as I see this, looking at it, this isn't high-speed rail. This is adding a regional line in between, an extra regional line in between Minneapolis and Chicago, so that portion of the track from Minneapolis to Chicago. Right now, there's just the daily Amtrak that runs from Seattle to Chicago. So this would create a regional back and forth locally. So I would actually be more local traffic rather than less from the looks of it. But we can table it and do some more research. I haven't had a chance to look into it much, just threw it on there because we had the request.
What do you guys think of that?
I think we should table it till we get more information.
I agree.
Agreed.
I agree.
Moving on.
Is that okay, Teresa?
That's okay. I'll go with the majority. I have studied this when we went to that big thing in La Crosse when they were talking about it. I thought it was a very good idea. Takes a lot of traffic off of I-90, 94, but and we're not really part of it. We're just putting our support. But I'll table it if you want more information.
All right, we'll table that for now. We'll move on to number 2, interim use for Matthew Construction for a asphalt plant. Aaron, are you on the line?
Yeah. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So the Planning Commission is forwarding a recommendation for approval to the County Board for an interim use permit for Matthew Construction to operate an asphalt plant in the Abnett Quarry. The Planning Commission's recommendation comes with 2 conditions. Number 1, that the permittee shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations. And then number 2, the permit expiration shall be December 31st, 2020. Board packets were forwarded to you all. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Questions?
It's a good thing.
It's a standard operating procedure. I mean, they're going to be providing the service for Houston County, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve.
I'll second it because a lot of it's going on County 6 and 25.
There's been a motion made and seconded. Is there any more discussion? I should point out that to include in the motion the 2 conditions.
Oh, yes.
Yes, that was my intention.
Yep. If not, we'll move on to roll call vote.
All right, District 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yep.
Passes.
Okay, now we'll move to now we'll move on to number 3, conditional use permit for George Kittleson to build a dwelling on less than 40 acres in Sheldon Township.
Planning Commission is forwarding a recommendation for approval for that application, granting conditional use permit to George and Sue Kittleson to build a house on less than 40 acres with 1 condition attached, that the permittee shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations. And I'll add that there was a question on the ownership of the parcel and the applicant. Parcel is owned by Kittleson Masonry. That's a corporation registered with the state of Minnesota. George Kittleson is the listed chief executive officer for that. So their application is on a parcel owned by the masonry business, but by the individual who's listed as their chief operating officer.
Is there a motion to approve this CUP?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Any more discussion? If not, we'll proceed with roll call vote.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yep.
Passes.
Okay, we move on to action number 4. Consider approval of conditional use permit for to build a cabin, Houston Township.
The Planning
believe
Commission
it's
is
on the-
forwarding a recommendation to the County Board for approval on this request by Joe Masaic to build a cabin in an ag district. That recommendation comes with 1 condition, that the permittee shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations. Be happy to take any questions you might have based on your review of the board packets.
Was there any concerns from neighboring properties?
No, we did not receive any comments from neighboring properties.
Okay.
Since he's taking down an old structure and replacing it with the new cabin structure, I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
With the condition.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? If not, is there a motion? Let's proceed with roll call vote. Sorry.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yep.
Passes.
Okay, we'll do number 5. CUP for Mark Frickson to operate a meat processing and fresh meat market in an ag district in Money Creek Township.
Planning Commission is recommending or forwarding a recommendation for approval to the county board on this application. That recommendation comes with 2 conditions. That the permittee shall comply with all federal, state, local laws and regulations, and that the county may enter onto the premises at reasonable times and in a reasonable manner to ensure the permit holder is in compliance with the conditions and all other applicable statutes, rules, and ordinances. Got board packets on this. I'd be happy to take any questions you might have on those.
I have a question. Aaron, I listened to the meeting and whatnot, but is there a restriction or a limit as to how many head they can do in a day?
Well, they presented, the application that you would approve would be as presented, and their application calls for 20 to 30 head a week. So the top line under what they're asking for now would be the 30 head a week, but there's no daily limit. I believe they did provide some breakdowns on how they would anticipate that coming through, but there's nothing in the recommendation that's forwarded to you that would limit them on a daily amount.
That was kind of brought up about the inspector being there certain days too. That was why, how many they're gonna kill every day. Is if he comes once a week, they'll probably have to kill 20 that day. If he comes twice a week, I suppose they'll do 15 every day. I suppose it's whenever they can get that inspector to come, because it's a federal inspector.
Yep, USDA inspector.
So Greg, you probably know more about this. If they expand the business, can they request that an inspector come more times? Will they allow that?
Yep, you have to, if they want to go another day, then they got to have that inspector come back every day. They cannot kill without the inspector there, because they're going to sell meat over the counter.
Well, I did hear people talking with regard to the issue of the structure of the county highway that goes past their house and not being heavy duty traffic and whatnot. And they did say they had parking for up to 10 employees. So I'm just curious, if we don't put a limitation, how much they could get from that perspective.
Well, I think
Right
if
now-
if they go over the 30 head a week, they might have to get a new permit to expand, and then we'd have to relook at it.
But not if we don't put that as a condition that the max they can do in a week is 30, because it doesn't have that restriction now.
Yeah, it does. 20 to 30 head a week.
Is that one of the conditions?
Well, that's what they're applying for.
Is that a condition, Aaron?
That's not an express condition, but the way they presented their application, that would be their top line. That's what they presented as a top line number.
But it's not, it wouldn't be limited to that, or does their application then automatically limit it to 30 head a week?
It's my view that the planning commission, the board approve or deny the applications as they're presented. So when they present that 30 animal units or 30 animals as the top number, they're not seeking, nor are you granting permission to do 50 animals in a week. It's 30.
Okay, as long as there is a cap, so if they want to expand, that's what to say about it as far as highway usage and what have you. Okay.
I think it should be noted that this is just the start of it, that they're getting their local permits first. There's a long road to hoe to get the rest of their permits from the state and federal. So this is something that's going to be a year process, if not longer.
I would say probably a 2-year process because they
Yep.
haven't started nothing.
Yep.
And then they got to get financing and all that on top of it. That's going to take some time.
That was my only question.
And I think one of the people that had concerns had their questions answered. If I don't remember if I heard that, but where I heard that, but.
Now, there were concerns about deer hunting with the CWD and then a little bit of concerns with the traffic on the highway. But there won't be a lot of semis coming in. Most of them are going to be cattle trailers. So that'll help. But if it gets bigger, then it could change. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the CUP?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
Could I ask that you clarify, we are
With the conditions.
with the conditions on this, yeah.
Okay, motion's been made to grant the CUP with conditions that have been expressed. Okay, roll call.
District 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yep.
Passes.
Okay, thanks, Aaron.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Move on to action item number 6. Consider accepting the low bid offer on 028-635-022 paving on County Highway 25. Brian?
Yeah, so just make one correction there on the agenda. It actually says 635. That should be 625.
Okay.
SAP 028-625-022. Yeah, so County 25, we were planning on paving this section of roadway in 2021. Due to our current workload and staffing levels, we're able to push this project up into 2020. And the benefit of doing that, we'll get the road paved a year sooner, so you get the ride quality up. In addition, you take advantage of the current oil prices to get better costs. So we bid this project out. We had one bidder. The bidder was Matthew Construction. Their bid came in at $2,518,951.38. The estimate was $2,545,075.68. So the bid came in about $26,000 less than our estimate. When you look at our numbers that we got compared to our other jobs, what's happening around the state and the region, I think we have good numbers for this bid. So I would recommend approving this contract. Preliminary discussions after the bid was open is that they'd look at doing this project in probably around the September timeframe, starting in late August and being done in early October.
So this is going to be all of 25, starting from 21 all the way to La Crescent?
This will stop about a mile outside of La Crescent or so, mile, maybe 2 miles, essentially up near the TV station where the previous job was through there. So it'll go across the ridge down into Mount Prairie area.
Where it butts up to 21.
Correct.
Is that a mill and resurface project?
Yep, so this will be a mill and resurface. We're going to add some rock to the project in the weak section up from Evans Hill going to the west a couple miles. That section of roadway only has a 3-ton design strength in sections of it, and we need to restrict semi usage of that. So this will bump up the pavement strength too. So
A question with regard to the mill adding rock and whatnot. If I recall, there's a section where it kind of skips between two houses.
yes.
Is that going to be a problem as far as the driveway approach up onto the highway by raising it that 4 or 5 inches?
It's tight, but it'll be okay. There's
What skips, Bob? What are you referring? What skips?
There's an S turn that goes in between two houses, two farms that were built on either side of County 25, and they're pretty close to the highway.
Yep.
When you zip,
Over there by Winsky's?
I don't know who they are, but
Okay,
up, you zip in between the two houses. They're pretty close to the highway.
yeah.
I think you're talking about the old Winsky place, are you?
Would be. I just know the two houses. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's not a problem. That's my only question.
Yeah, I mean it's tight. It's not ideal, but it's this project won't impact them.
Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Give this one to Jack.
Yeah, you keep crowding in, Teresa. Hey.
Well, this is kind of my district too.
Okay. Any more discussion?
No.
Roll call?
District 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yep.
Passes.
I just have one quick question for Brian. Is there anybody that would ever bid on a paving project in the county other than Matthew?
I would love to say yes. When you look around the region, there's going to be less and less competition.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not at all disparaging Matthew. I think they're a super company. I'm just curious if there was anybody even out there.
Yeah, there's really nothing that's close by. The problem with companies that are from farther away that do paving is that they don't have access to the rock and the materials here close by. So it's tough for them to come in here and do it.
Thank you.
The other smaller guys, they buy their mix from Matthews, so it makes it. How can they compete when someone else is selling them their own mix?
Okay.
So with that answer, I mean, when you look at the prices that we get here in Houston County, are we similar, or do we line up close to what the rest of the state is looking at, the rest of the counties?
We used to be at up near the very top of the state. Us in Winona County, where in the metro area, I mean, we were the highest that there was in the state. Recently, the numbers in the other counties are going up, and this year's prices, I'm seeing higher numbers outside of this area. So we've actually gone down. We're more competitive at that level compared to the rest of the state. So that's good to see. Still a lot less once you get into some other areas that have maybe some better sources of material, but not as high anymore, though, I guess.
Okay, let's move on to action item number 7. Approval of resolution 2029 county state aid highway funds advance. Right.
Yeah. So this is really a part 2 of the funding here for the project for County 25. So in order to do this project early, and we're paving County 6 right now, that was originally going to be paid for with 2021 federal funding, or a portion of it is. We won't receive that federal funding until probably early October. and that could potentially even be delayed a little beyond that time frame. We can borrow against our 2021 state aid allotment. So essentially what we're doing is taking an interest-free loan out, getting the money a year in advance. Money is available at the state. I've spoken with them about it. So essentially what's happening is that all the different counties around the state, you have your allotment. Not everyone spends their accounts down to zero every year. That extra money that stays in there, other counties can essentially borrow it. There is no interest, no penalty of doing this. The large counties around the state all do this a lot. Small counties do it when they have a bigger project or a bigger construction schedule. So what the resolution is to looking at a current balance in the state aid account of $2,284,727.16 as of June 1st, 2020. We're looking at advancing amount of up to $1,914,223.84. What that would do is be an amount that's below our maximum threshold, but high enough to cover everything to do both projects without receiving our federal funding prior to projects being complete. Ultimately, if we get our federal money in early October, what we're really looking at advancing is closer to about $250,000 worth of state aid money out of 2021 accounts. We're really not going that far into the hole. And then that'll get reallocated back to our account in January of 2021. So, like I said, it's nothing that's not very common around the state. Just we haven't done this here in Houston County in a long time.
So it's just a version of robbing Peter to pay Paul, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's I mean, we're borrowing from one account from exactly.
Kind of like farming. Yeah, I get it.
We also got a better price for doing that County 25, so it's a good time to utilize it.
Yeah. So there's a couple of reasons. One is price, and then I'm looking at staffing and workload levels for next year. And we have time to get it done this year. Next year, we would struggle to get all of our jobs done as the previous 2021 construction schedule was lining up. So this will help balance out our workload some where we can manage it a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Jack?
I'll move.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? If not, we'll proceed with a roll call vote.
District 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yep.
Passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, we'll move on to action item number 8. Consider approval of property tax abatements. Cindy?
Yes, you should have those all in front of you, or they should have been in the packet. I approved them, and I believe Donna approved all of them, so it's up to you guys.
How many is there?
Oh, I didn't count them.
There are, let's see, 30 of them in this batch. The majority of these are the cases where we had the veterans exclusion that was applied incorrectly due to that keying error that we've discussed in the past. So.
Right.
So Jeff, where were these in our packet?
They are in.
It was in
A8. And so let me open up the packet itself.
I missed that. Okay.
Yep. So they're tab A8.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's 30 of them there. So yep. When I send the packets out, I try and save it so that it opens up so that you see the whole packet and the bookmarks on the left side. And as the tab goes down on the left side, you see it's A8 abatements is the tab.
I don't have my stuff up.
Okay.
Cindy, on the Charles Littell deal,
I
that
have-
wasn't for veterans credit, was it?
No, I believe that one was one that he had his, it should say in the explanation, but I believe that was one where his homestead had been removed in error and put back on. But let me find that, okay?
Says something about 3 parcels.
Yeah, when you have a homestead and you're out in the ag, they link together, and when you change the value or the homestead, the classification on one, the 3 are all involved. So you have to make sure that we look at all 3 to have that correctly recalced. It's one homestead, it's 3 parcels involved. And that was, I guess there isn't an explanation on that, but that was a homestead that was incorrectly removed. And that, like I've explained before, there's 2 ways that can happen. One, they can take a letter Y out of the database in error, or they can, in another spot, a number 1 indicates homestead, and if that's not 1 and it's a 0, it could eliminate that homestead too. So with all the new training and that, these little growing errors happen, and it's unfortunate, but it does happen, and it's caught and it's corrected.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the property tax abatements?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? If not, we'll proceed with roll call.
District 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Passes.
Thank you.
I'll move on to action item number 9, approval of resolution 2040. Authorization to accept the next generation E911 grant funds.
This is the one that we renew each year, I believe, isn't it?
No.
I don't think so.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Oh, well, you could probably say it just as well. This is the one to get the next generation E911 up and running in compliance with the state and the emergency systems over at the Sheriff's Department, and that it's a funding to help us achieve that goal. I believe it's 17,000. We get increments of, we have to I think it's 3 months, am I correct, Jeff, that we have to turn in where we are, and I wrote the grant, but a lot of the work is being done through Beacon, Schneider, and Mark on the other end, Mark Olson. So.
Yeah. So I'll pop up the resolution here real quick and show you here real quick. So the resolution authorizes the acceptance of the grant that the board previously applied for. We received 17,000 in funds. We have a contract set up with Schneider that then their bid of 17,000 is held. They've maintained that price, and so this resolution authorizes acceptance of the grant and authorizes Cindy or the sheriff to execute that contract to complete this work. And again, Schneider's here today, so we will discuss the ins and outs of this with them again.
I would make a motion to accept the grant.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? If not, we'll proceed with roll call.
District 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yep.
Thank you. Passes.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay. Now we'll move on to action item number 9. Or no, 10, I mean.
10.
Consider approval of the contract with Brothers Up North LLC to complete work on Root River Japanese hops project. I don't know, is Aaron going to do this or is Amelia's?
I can touch on this. Aaron, you can chime in if you have anything else. Amelia was not able to be here today. She had planned on this being on the next agenda meeting prior to initiating the contract, but they'd called her and they were able to get to start on the work sooner than originally planned. And so that's why we added it kind of last minute for the agenda here. We had a different contractor last year who had bigger equipment than was able to get up onto the river into the right places to do this work. My understanding is this Brothers Up North contract has a smaller boat, smaller equipment, more equipped to be able to get to the areas on the river where we need them to spray for the Japanese hops. Aaron, anything else to add there?
I guess I would just say that whatever we paid out last year, the contract amount in this case, it's just the delta that remains. So there's no county funds that are being asked above and beyond what was already committed to in the prior year.
Okay. And I think this is all actually grant money that's being spent, not county money.
Right.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second you. Everybody's.
Any more discussion? All right, we'll proceed with roll call.
District 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
and 5.
Yep.
Passes. Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to number 11. Consider approval of resolution 2031 election equipment grant acceptance. Donna.
Okay.
We don't have Don online here. I've shared the screen of the resolution. This is essentially to purchase the 13 extra poll pads or electronic rosters. The grant amount of money spent is $12,616.90 with the required minimum match of $4,205.63, which the board previously approved. $3,000 of which was budgeted within Donna's account, and the remainder of the $1,200 we will find from within the budget elsewhere. And yeah, this will purchase the equipment and get them here in time for the fall elections.
It's for the 13
Right.
roster devices.
Correct.
I did talk to Donna about this yesterday, and we did really approve of it. It's just the final acceptance of the grant funding.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's grand funding.
Grant funding. Yes. I think the T. I missed that one. Wow.
Fix that.
I'll make a motion to approve, to accept the grant funding for election equipment.
Is there a second? Second?
I'll,
Is that you, Jack?
yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
We gotta come up with 1,200 out of the budget that we gotta come up with to make this go.
Yes, I think she had 3,000 set aside originally. Yep.
Okay.
Has it been decided where that's coming from?
I don't recall if we decided specifically where to pull that. Carol, do you recall? If I think you're on here.
Yeah. She's probably not at her desk.
It may not be.
All right.
So
we'll proceed with roll call.
Oops, I just don't know how to unmute.
Oh.
No, actually, it hadn't been decided where that was going to come from. But we'll take a look, and before the next finance committee meeting, we'll know where that's coming from.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any more discussion? If not, we'll proceed with roll call, I believe.
All right. District 1.
Yes.
2.
Yes.
3.
Yes.
4.
Yes.
And 5.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Passes.
Now we'll move on to action item number 12. Consider approval of Amendment 1 of the Airport Maintenance Operations Grant. Brian, are you on that one?
Yep. Yes. So a couple weeks ago, the board approved the $20,000 federal CARES Act funding grant for the airport. Follow up to that is that we got a correspondence from Minnesota Department of Transportation, Aeronautics, MnDOT Aeronautics, saying that we need to amend our previous maintenance and operation grant to include the $20,000 CARES Act funding. Essentially, the FAA and MnDOT Aeronautics work jointly on making sure projects are funded, and there's different pass-through funding operations that they go through. So what the amendment does, it adds the $20,000 CARES Act fund into the contract we have with MnDOT for the maintenance operation out the airport. So they did not reduce the state amount at all. That stayed the same. They just added the $20,000 for the federal. So original contract $56,960, the revised $76,960, and this goes from now through June 30th of 2021. So it's not all for this year and the first half of next year.
Is there a motion to approve the amendment?
I'll move to approve it.
Second.
Any more discussion? If not, we'll proceed with a roll call vote.
Sorry, District 1.
Yes.
2.
Yes.
3.
Yes.
4.
Yes.
And 5.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Passes. Thank you.
You're sitting in the dark there, Teresa.
I know, I can't figure out why.
There you go.
Wait, and I don't know why.
The sun just shined, that's all.
Bright light behind you.
All right. Number 13, consider approval of memorandum of agreements with the LELS units number 60, 237, 415 for COVID-19 related leave. Tess?
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, last month you may recall that the board excluded the law enforcement, members of the Sheriff's Office, the law enforcement units from the FFCRA, which has two main components. One was 80 hours of sick leave that was in addition to and to be used prior to use of any county leave that an employee may have, as well as an expanded Family Medical Leave Act. We did this because of the necessity of needing to staff these positions since we have a 24/7 jail operation as well as highway safety. However, that does not preclude the county from having a modified policy, if you will, so that these individuals are not put at a disadvantage as compared to our other employees when it comes to the use of sick leave for should they be diagnosed with COVID, or a member of their family be diagnosed that they're caring for, or if they be quarantined for any reason. So this really puts our deputies and jailers and dispatchers at par, if you will, with our other county employees for this up to 80 hours of sick leave, so that they are not treated differently. If you're wondering why then did we exclude them in the first place, we're not allowed to cherry pick, if you will, under the FFCRA, saying some components applied and others didn't. So we followed what was a reasonable course and excluded them from the FFCRA. How this, if people are wondering why then we would exclude them, well, some of the Expanded Family Medical Leave Act allowed up to several weeks of leave beyond regular FMLA to care for kids that are in school, or were not in school or daycare. We required our law enforcement folks to have to come up with alternate arrangements for that because we needed them at work. However, I do fully support them getting the benefit of the additional sick leave hours, and we should do that per county policy is the proposal.
Any other questions?
Do they have any sick leave right now, or how does that work? I mean, is this something added on to it, or is this?
Yes, Commissioner, this is in addition to their regular sick leave, and depending upon their individual circumstances, every deputy or jailer may have different leave accrual balances. What this does is it puts them at par with our other employees who may get an additional 80 hours for very specific reasons, and that is if they are required to be quarantined or isolated due to some medical order or Department of Health order, or they themselves have COVID or a family member does. And so we're asking a lot of these individuals. We're not able to afford them all the benefits under the federal mandate. And however, this is, they shouldn't be put in a more disadvantaged situation when it comes to use of their leaves.
Do they gotta have like a written saying they have COVID or
yes, this would require specific documentation from the State Department of Health, a medical provider. Which is the same for our employees that are under the FFCRA as well. It's only for this very narrow set of circumstances.
Is there a motion to approve the MOA?
I'll make a motion to approve MOA.
Is there a second?
3 MOAs.
3 MOAs. That's right.
Okay.
For each unit, yep.
So this is for all 3 MOAs. I'll second the motion,
Any more discussion?
and the unions are all in agreement with this test.
Yes, their business agents have already signed the documents prior to it being proposed to the board for consideration.
Okay.
Anything else? If not, we'll proceed with the roll call.
District 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
and 5.
Yep.
Passes. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to administrator updates.
All right. Discussed already the license center operations a little bit with the hiring of Nikki Conkle as our temporary down there, and that will continue to evolve and open. We'll be discussing this week when possibly starting next week, opening up to a full day rather than the partial day for the driver's license center. But that partial day is allowing them to continue to provide support to the Dropbox service and that. So otherwise, business is progressing there. The comprehensive land use plan request for proposal that we put out, the suspense for proposals was the 5th of June. We did not receive any proposals. I did reach out to CETA specifically to verify if that was by accident or design, and they responded that they were not submitting a proposal. So from the comprehensive land use plan perspective, we will have to readdress how we go forward from that. We did not receive any contract proposals. So table that for a discussion at a work group session and how we go forward. The next work group session on the 16th in the morning, we will focus on the local board or the county board of appeal and equalization scheduled for the evening of the 16th. We'll have Cindy discuss expectations of how the meeting is going to run, how we're going to do it, and what we expect to hear at that meeting. So if you have any questions about that board itself, save them for the 16th. We will also have on the agenda for the work group session the questions for proposals for the highway department project are due on the 15th. And so Brian and I will consolidate those questions and discuss them with the board on the 16th to generate our answers back to anyone who has put in a proposal on that or is interested in putting a proposal on that project. And that will keep that that project on time and on track. So I think that's what I have for now.
Jeff, that workshop will be a Zoom meeting, but then our meeting at 6 will be at the courthouse.
At the courthouse in the EOC room. We'll use the EOC room that evening. Okay. And again, your attendance is up to you if you wish to participate by Zoom or if you wish to participate in person. We will make accommodations for social distancing down in the EOC for that meeting.
I think that are Eric and I the only ones that are certified to be part of this?
Of the commissioners, correct, yes. I think it's the two of you that are certified.
But that doesn't mean the rest can't be a part of it, though.
Oh,
no, not at all. No.
We are required to be there.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And again, required to be there in light of current situation is either via Zoom or physically present. You're not both required to be physically present.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your feeling, Jeff? Is things going fairly smooth with the reopening of the county offices?
Yeah, generally, yeah, yes. Yep, yeah, we have, we still have some people that come to the door looking for help. Some that are able to help, some we're able to redirect with appointments. Having Nikki on board, we'll be able to redirect those a little more productively with appointments and control that flow a little bit better.
So when does she start?
She will be starting on Wednesday, and that'll be focused on training and such to get her up to speed enough to start with the basics. And like kind of as I was explaining it to Donna, we kind of start with it's like calling in for a tech help. You get your level 1 support, and then you work your way up to level 2 and 3, and she'll start out as level 1 support and eventually be able to do level 2, level 3 support. And we'll have a computer down at the front desk because she's able to assist with making appointments, and we'll be Donna will be working with her to have a stack of the forms and applications and things so that they can, depending on what they're coming in for, she can hand them the form and say, fill this out, drop it in the box, the basic first level of filtering, and then we're continuing to work on what we can do from a facility perspective to look at better ways we can provide customer service. Right now, we can really only have one person in there at a time with the driver's license to be able to maintain any semblance of social distancing, both on the employee side and on the customer side. And so we're looking at how we can rearrange those windows and computers and desks and things to bring in and perhaps have a feasible 2 workstations going. Some of the ideas included moving and using one of the auditor treasurer windows, but then we bump up against election season coming up. So, and again, that's something as we go forward, we might be able to push the election, some of the balloting, absentee balloting stuff down by the front door too, but we're working on how we can all do that best. Commissioner Miller.
Yeah, Jeff, speaking of elections, there are 2 gentlemen that are interested in having as much fun as I'm having, so there'll be a primary. Any idea on the date of a primary?
August 11th.
Yes.
August 11th?
Yep. Yep. And Donna, absentee voting starts on...
Hi, July 26th.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, July 26th then for the absentee voting for the primary.
So for
I'm sorry. June.
Sorry?
I'm sorry.
June 26th.
I missed June 26th. I'm sorry. I'm a month off.
So Donna, those townships that decide to go with mail-in voting, that'll be the same for the primary as well?
Correct.
Okay. And how many is that? 5?
6.
Six precincts.
All right.
Mm-hmm. And we were just discussing that at land use, and with District 1 commissioner being the only contested race within the ballot, there probably won't be a whole lot of other things on the ballot for the primary. So I think the turnout will be quite low, maybe 25% or less.
Okay.
One other facility-related update: we are continuing to work with the judge and what their plan would look like for any trial hearings coming up. We had a fairly solid plan of how to divide up the main courtroom and provide social distancing spacing and provide. We're working on quotes for plexiglass and glass dividers to make that room work with the current standards, and also hopefully make it future proof for going forward. One of the judge has been pretty inclusive in letting everybody within the sphere of criminal justice respond and apply and provide feedback. Some of those are pushing that we move the court room down to the Justice Center or another large room, so that the distancing can take priority over putting up barricades in between everybody. So they're taking a look at the EOC room as a possibility for that, to keep it within the building. There's pros and cons to doing that. Sheriff has some pretty significant current concerns about giving up the room at all, so that it's, in fear that it wouldn't be available as the EOC if needed. So at the CJCC meeting here later this morning, they'll be discussing those options again. One of the big reasons I bring it up as an awareness standpoint is it becomes the county's dime to provide a facility, and so if we can't make the courthouse work, the cost of going to a different facility would come under the county budget, from what we understand. So we're trying to make it work here in the building. Commissioner Burns may have more to add. He's been to several of those discussions on that.
No, that's basically where it's at, trying to facilitate everybody and make it as user-friendly as possible. I understand the sheriff's concerns with the EOC. If he has an emergency come up, that's what it's for. So, so I understand his concerns.
The court system.
The key for me is if we do the courthouse with the, you know, the courtroom with the separating walls and whatnot, that we can get reimbursed for that from the feds because of this COVID deal.
Yeah, and that may be the case if we were to have to spend the, you know, money to rent the Four Seasons or another facility as well. But we're working to sort that out.
Well, I hope it doesn't come to that. There should be some place in the new.
We got awful big buildings around. I think we could find room.
Yeah.
So the courts are looking at a 18 to 24 month period is kind of what they're using as a planning factor for needing to maintain the social distancing requirements. And so it's not just for the next month, for the next 2 months. It's we need to be
2
thinking
years,
next year or two. Yeah. So now on the, you know, the flip side is we don't have very many jury trials down here. You know, we're maybe 6 a year, and the judge is working on providing us some better statistics there. Unfortunately, is, you know, a lot of times what happens is they get set up for a jury trial and go through all the motions and get a jury selected and all that, and then, you know, both sides wait till the last minute to work out an agreement. So we don't execute as many jury trials as are scheduled, but we need to be prepared to support one regardless. So
yes, you have something.
And you're muted, Tess.
My apologies for that. I was going to just give you a brief update. At our last meet, in addition to all the current ones, in the last meeting, Commissioner Burns brought up the idea of having temporary dividers in the that would be usable in the what's called the gallery area. And the benefit of temporary dividers, according to the emergency operations manager, Olivia, is that those are reimbursable. I guess everything you wait, you hold your breath and wait and see, but that would be reimbursable rather than a permanent fix. And Schmidt Goodman has gotten back to us, and I will be bringing a proposal forward to the committee that I think would be very workable and address a lot of their concerns that are temporary, that are easily moved around and can be used in multiple configurations. So I think we might have something that folks can all agree on, and that allows for all the appropriate distancing.
Great.
I got one question. Since we're on all this, putting this stuff in the courthouse, are we gonna get any grants or anything to pay for something like this? Like that sliding door? I know Bob's been working on it with the city. Have we pursued that anywhere? Or looked at getting a grant for that?
Tess is muted again. Yeah, we're looking at Tess is muted, so I'll jump in. We were looking at what we can use of the FEMA money and that, and then we are waiting to see what the rules and stipulations are of the CARES Act money. That will be dependent on what the state legislature does with the CARES Act money and how they stipulate that can or can't be used for COVID response.
Local grants or anything like that we can get for that, being it's COVID?
Our two are the CARE grant and the FEMA grant is the two grants we can go for, and not really grants, but money.
Yeah, those are the two streams that I'm aware of. I'm not aware of other grant options within, you know, COVID response.
They are after the fact reimbursements.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
You guys got to put estimates in on what things are going to cost and how much to get these grants on started, or how does that work?
I think that our emergency manager keeps track of all the expenses, and when we find out about what grants we're gonna get, or money we're gonna get, then that's turned into them. It's what I was told at the AMC meeting.
Yep, that's how it works.
And that's how we're working on the FEMA stuff with that. Again, with the CARES Act, that's untreaded water. So what the state puts on for rules and stipulations with that funds is unknown. We had what the House and the Senate proposals were, and they varied between the two, but we don't know for sure what that'll look like until they take action on it.
Are we working on FEMA too?
Yes.
Yep.
The scary part is it's our dime and then we have to depend on them to pay us back.
I know.
And yet it's something that we have to do.
I think we should look into it a little bit more and get some estimates and get the ball rolling on that maybe. Maybe we can get it paid for. Who knows?
Yep, we're absolutely doing that.
We'll move on to commissioner reports. Teresa?
Now, listen, I don't have to be first. We all had the district meeting, so I won't go over that again. Like I said, the best part of that at this point, we aren't losing our CPA money. I thought was a real big thing. I had a 2.5-hour public safety meeting yesterday that AMC is looking for recommendations to give to the legislation on how to move forward with police departments, et cetera. We're still gathering information. We don't want to go at it too fast with our recommendations till we really study the direction we're going and what regulations they already have in place that we're not duplicating. I have a Brownsville Township meeting tonight. They've had quite a change in their board again, and they also have a zoning issue that I talked to Aaron about this morning, and he did give me some direction on that. Jack and I have been talking a little bit about extension, and we do have a meeting on June 23rd with our extension committee. And at that time, we'll discuss some budget options and what we might present for budget time. And then that's all I have.
On that public safety meeting, so some of this pertained to the
Almost all of it pertains to the George Floyd situation.
okay,
Government. Yeah.
so like defund the police and
Well, that wasn't part of the discussion at all. It was mainly removing restrictions of how you can prosecute, getting rid of some of the warrior training, et cetera, like that. It was 19 different items that we discussed. But
Jack, you got something?
Well, I think most was covered at the work session, so, we had kind of I don't want to call it an emergency, but an unscheduled Wildcat meeting because I think at least 3 or 4 of us got phone calls from the same lady, but glad to say I think that's resolved. And she said that Donna told her that she was willing to be not a bad guy, a bad gal. And but hopefully that's water over the dam. And I think, though, quite honestly, I think we need to make sure that what we say should be done down there is in fact done. I don't want to say it's not, but I think it's our obligation to ensure that it is. Other than that, I mentioned at the very beginning of the meeting, been in contact with the city of La Crescent over the assessment issues, and we'll await some letter we're supposed to be getting. And like I said, I've gathered a number of facts and information from Cindy that I'd be happy to respond to whatever we receive.
I might have missed part of that, Jack, but how did that get brought up? You had another meeting with the city of La Crescent, or?
The city had their meeting last night, and on the agenda was the meeting issue that we had a week ago. And so I called Bill Waller to see whether it was necessary that I be at the meeting last night. And he said no, that they were simply going to talk about a letter that they were going to send to the county with some suggestions for, I hope the suggestions involved communication, because I think that was a big part of the issue. We didn't get their list. They didn't send us their list. I don't know, somehow it didn't get coordinated to the extent that it should have been, in my opinion.
So we should expect a letter
Yes.
sometime soon. All right.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, I don't know anything that like I said, hadn't been covered previously.
Okay. Bob?
All right. I'll add to what Jack said with regard to Wildcat. I mean, the lady that called had with the issue, I think that's resolved, but when you read the regulations that we have with the Corps, there's some things that we should be doing that we're a little in arrears on. So there's going to be, and they'll be contacting you, Jack, but sometime first part of next week, we're going to see about having a Parks Committee meeting.
Okay.
Discuss that as far as the lottery issue and whatnot, and get our thoughts and opinions on that, so we can have a plan to bring back to the board. So get your opinions on that too. So that's that issue. I have been in contact with the city of Caledonia with regard to East Washington Street, and that moving the parking lot and the driveway or the sidewalk to more align with the door, the west door. And they have taken it under consideration. They're talking to the city attorney, and I will stay in contact with them to see where we're at and what can be done about that. The next thing is I went to an election or a recorders meeting that Sue Schwabach sponsored with regard to a company that comes in, records the information from the various books records and puts it into a format that is, one, safely stored, and two, easier access for different people. She's looking at doing a part of it, and I guess Sue can address that if she wishes, but it's something that many places are doing so as to assist people, make it easier to use, and it protects our information, so it's recorded for posterity. So that's an interesting subject. And then I attended, or I listened to an election webinar with regard to different ways that elections are being held and done. It was interesting that out in Utah, they do everything by mail. It's not even called absentee balloting. They mail out the ballots to all the registered voters, and they don't take registration on the day of election. You have to be prepared to do that. And they have a 90% turnout on their elections. So kind of interesting. And they have security in there as far as making sure the people that are supposed to vote are the ones that they're getting the vote from. And they didn't elaborate on it. It was only a 1-hour webinar. So, I mean, but a lot of different things. So that was interesting as far as what different parts of the country are doing. But that's all I have to report on.
What was the complaint, or what was the complaint about Wildcat? I guess I don't know who it was. That don't matter. I was just wondering what the complaint was.
You want me to take it, Jack?
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
There was a woman called, and she was unhappy that First, she was going to buy somebody else's trailer. Somebody was leaving the park and going to sell their trailer, and she wanted to buy that trailer and then move it out and move hers in. There's a regulation about no swapping. So if she bought the trailer, it was okay to buy the trailer, but then that was the trailer she was going to have to use. Then the complaint turned into, how come with those new additions of spaces that were added along the river, she didn't get a chance to get into one of those slots instead of being in the slot that she's at. And other people were put into those slots, and she didn't understand how that process took place. And she was there longer than some of them. And so newer people were getting better, in her opinion, the choice slots. So that was the gist of it, right, Jack?
That's pretty much covers it, yes.
Well, I'm glad you guys are handling that just fine.
I did get a call and I referred him to Bob or Jack, and she said, I already talked to them.
She called her on. One thing I did forget to mention, I did have another complaint that was with regard to the land that we bought from Mr. Rogish adjacent to the county shop. A person that lives next to that land was complaining that the grass was tall and she's afraid of snakes and rats and would like to get that mowed. So I talked to the maintenance supervisor, and when they're done with County 5, he's going to get that mowed probably on Thursday after this weather and stuff is done. That was a complaint about the grass. The thing I find interesting is the grass was never mowed down there by the prior owner, but now that the county owns it, now we got to mow the grass.
Yeah.
How come when the county buys something, we got to take care of everything?
I just thought I'd bring that up.
There's probably more rats in that trailer court than there is now. Before.
Speaking of the county buying something, has anybody heard any rumors about the land we sold out by the high school? Any plans of somebody doing anything?
I haven't. I've heard nothing.
It's still being farmed.
Okay.
Greg, you got anything?
I guess I had a SEMCAC meeting last night. Things are going okay there. I guess they got rid of one person this week. They made a decision to get rid of her. She was the Head Start lady. I don't know. Teresa probably knew her. But for some reason, they terminated her job this week. And outside of that, they're having some funding problems, but they're getting some grants in, and things look pretty good down there for right now. And I guess the only other thing I got would be at the next workshop, can we get busy on this solid waste and raising that household so we can get that straightened out a little bit?
That should come up at budget time, and then we have to have a public hearing when we do any changes on fees. But it won't be at a workshop. Well, maybe the budget talks will be.
Yeah, we can discuss it at a workshop. I will see if we can discuss it on the 16th or not. Right, could possibly have a full agenda with the other topics I mentioned already. We'll have it queued up for one of the next workshops.
Yeah, you don't have to have a public hearing to change a fee. If you're adding a new fee, you need a public hearing.
I think we were talking about adding a new fee with chloride.
No.
This is for solid waste.
Solid waste.
But solid waste fees come under all of our fees, doesn't it?
But we want to raise the household fees. Then we can eliminate some of the fees that we're charging people so they don't throw it out in the country.
We could bring that up next week, Jeff.
Okay. Yeah, I'll carve some time to talk about it.
Oh, I did just want to mention too on the lots that we bought that Rogish had. He had a goat out there that took care of the grass.
Maybe we got to buy some goats.
Well, yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
I know we can lease them.
He did. I saw it. He'd move it around and it would take care of the grass.
That means we got a fence. We ain't gonna do that. Jeepers cats.
Oh, he didn't have a fence. He just had a post.
Oh.
Possibilities.
Yeah. Houston County's getting in the goat business. I could just read the headlines now.
Just be careful we don't get fainting goats.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Bob. If you ever been around it, you really understand what Bob is saying.
You got anything else, Greg?
That's about all I got, I guess. So.
Yeah. Okay. I don't really have anything either. Extension meeting was canceled but rescheduled for the 23rd, so we'll go to that.
Is the fair still on, Eric?
As far as I know, it is, but they're going to have a meeting here this month, and I'm sure they're going to make a decision there. I'm going to try to get in touch with somebody on the fair board there to just so I have communication so we know what's going on.
Yep, I listened in on the last meeting, and they were well aware of all the other cancellations around, and we're in contact with their vendors and things, but we're pushing off a decision, just cautiously optimistic to hold off
Jeff,
on canceling.
Do you remember the date on that? No larger than 250 was good through end of August, was it?
Oh, give me just a second. I don't know if I still have it up.
It's told September 1st.
Was it September 1st? So that would include the fair date then.
It's right on the borderline.
I know Fillmore County canceled.
Yeah. So did Winona.
Winona as well.
How about, I think El McKee might have canceled. Winneshiek canceled, I think.
Yep. Now, and you guys will hear more at the Extension Committee, I assume. The one thing I did appreciate during that last meeting was the Extension folks were pretty pragmatic in laying out some options on, if we have a full fair, here's what we can do. If we can't have a full fair, maybe we can do X, Y, and Z. Maybe we can do a, drive by with your trailer with your goat on the back of the trailer. Maybe we can do it virtually. Maybe we can do something. They are looking at kind of any options to be able to resurrect and keep something going. But a lot of that was still dependent on whether or not there would be anything at the state level to compete at.
And the bad part is all the kids with their animals and it's just a shame for some of these, especially for someone in their last year, and it's that way for everybody. They're, senior classes and everything's too. So, but they have a lot of time and money invested in their projects, and they'd like to show them. And I know I've heard rumors of them wanting to do a trailer show or something to that effect. I don't know how that's all going to work, but I guess we'll find out what they decide. So,
Eric, are they talking about having the auction too?
that's another thing. How is that going to work if they're doing a trailer show and then they're going to have to come back and do an auction? Those are things they all have to going to consider. And then, when you bring an auction, you're going to have a lot of people there for buyers and bidders, and so I guess my way of thinking is either you have it or you don't. It's kind of hard to do in a halfway fair, but never know if they come up with some alternatives. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I suppose they could have an online auction, but boy, that's going to take an awful lot. I mean, if you're and unload your pigs and then have somebody judge them, and then you load them back up and take them home. How's that judge going to remember what that pig looks like 15 minutes later?
Yeah, it's awful hard to do it.
I think it's going to be a tough call for them people.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe we'd have a chance to bid on that boat that's next to the county shop.
That what?
The
I
goat.
thought maybe we'd have a
Oh, the
chance
goat.
to bid on that goat next to the county shop.
Well, we could pick up a few at the fair if you really want.
Maybe we can come up with our own contest. We'll see. We'll start all the goats at one side of the field and see who can eat their way across the field fastest.
There it is.
Oh.
Okay, anything else? Jeff?
Just one thing now that we're past 11 a.m. You two heard it this morning at the Public Health Commission, but we are officially at 5 cases of lab confirmed cases in the county now, with results coming out at 11. So, and again, that's spread across the county. So.
So are these people going over to La Crosse and Onalaska where all this testing's going on, or do we have testing in Rochester or somewhere as close by, or
Winona.
Winona? They have testing there?
Yeah, I one of them I know was tested at Mayo in La Crosse. One I think was Gunderson and La Crosse. Those are the two I've heard of where they had tested. That was one of our concerns, was how fast we were getting information across if people were tested on the Wisconsin side of the border. And in the one case, at least through the Mayo Clinic in La Crosse, we heard about it within, I think, 2 days. So we heard about, so it reassuring that the system is working and we are getting the information.
Well, we should find out quite a bit after all this black stuff going on with all these black people and these riots and all them stuff.
Protesters. Yeah.
If it's going to break back out, it'll probably come from some of that, I would imagine.
Well, I think I like the quote that Alan McKee County had posted best. The virus doesn't move, we do. So.
A lot of truth in that.
Well, if not, is there a motion?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second it.
Roll call?
District 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
and 5.
Yep.